Since the days of the 6th Legion's inception on Terra, the Space Wolves have remained a legion apart from their fellow warriors, with their origins shrouded in mystery. Their reputation for fearsome warriors, relentless in pursuit, has always been felt across the stars. They struck with unexpected violence, always swift and brutal in their campaigns. Like the wolves of old Earth, their assaults were calculated, designed to tear and rend until their foes were left in ruins or driven to their deaths. It was with the return of their Primarch, Leman Russ, to the Legion and their settlement on the harsh death world of Fenris that their true nature emerged. Fenris, with its cold and dangerous landscape, was a fitting home for the Legion, and it was here that the Space Wolves truly became what they were destined to be. Under the leadership of Leman Russ, they carved a bloody path across the galaxy, but always remained bound to the Emperor's will. The Emperor held tight control over them, using their strength not only to conquer, but to punish those who would defy the Imperium. Their role as the Emperor's tool of punishment grew, and this, combined with their increasing cultural differences, set them apart from the other legions. By the end of the Great Crusade, with the rise of Horus as War Master, the Space Wolves were isolated. Though they maintained bonds with some of their brothers, others saw them as little more than beasts, controlled only to kill when ordered. But the Space Wolves cared little for these opinions. They knew their place in the galaxy, and they knew what they were made to do. They were not builders of empires, nor followers of rules and orders. They were predators, and woe betide any who stood in their way. The Space Wolves are one of the greatest chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, their name known throughout the galaxy. They were one of the original 20 Space Marine legions created by the Emperor over 10,000 years ago to aid in the Great Crusade and the Emperor's reconquest of the galaxy. Before the Great Crusade, Terra had been isolated for thousands of years, the galaxy torn apart by warp storms. It was a time of great darkness known as the Age of Strife. Without the Emperor, humanity seemed doomed, the world scattered and helpless against alien and warp threats. It was during this time that the Emperor, in secret, sought to create 20 Primarchs. These transhuman beings were designed to be far more powerful than mere men, each with unique abilities. However, a disastrous incident scattered the Primarchs' incubation pods across the stars, and the Emperor had to make do with what he had left. He used the raw material from the Primarch project to create the Space Marines, who would become the Emperor's greatest warriors. Though they were not as powerful as the Primarchs, the Space Marines were still unmatched in strength, skill, and loyalty. Leman Russ, the Primarch of the Space Wolves, arrived on the icy world of Fenris in his incubation pod, crashing into the side of a great mountain. It was a harsh, unforgiving land, and only the strongest could survive. Yet, from the wreckage of his pod, Leman Russ emerged and soon encountered a deadly thunderwolf. Fate, however, had other plans. Instead of killing him, the wolf sensed something in the child, a kindred spirit. The great she-wolf raised the infant Primarch alongside her own cubs, and so Russ grew, learning the ways of the wild. The Fenrisian king, Thengir, would eventually find the wolf child and recognize his potential. Thengir ordered that Leman be brought to his court, where he would be raised as a warrior among the fierce Fenrisian tribes. In time, Leman Russ would rise to power, becoming the greatest of Thengir's warriors. Upon the death of King Thengir, Leman Russ would take his place as ruler of the Russ tribe, cementing his place in Fenrisian legend. It would not be long before word of his legendary strength and leadership spread, reaching the Emperor's ears. Leman Russ, now amongst his own kind, quickly adapted to their ways. He learned their skills, mastering their weapons and their language. Though he was far stronger than any of them, Russ found himself laughing and singing alongside his fellow Fenrisians. He soon came to realize that he was more human than wolf, but still far superior to both. King Thengir saw the potential in the young man and, after Leman disarmed the champion of the king's guard, he knew that Leman was destined for greatness. In time, the king gave him the name Leman of the Russ, and when Thengir passed, Leman took his place as the ruler of his people. From that day forward, he was known as the Wolf King, and his name became legend across Fenris. It was only a matter of time before the Emperor heard of Leman Russ, and the Primarchs' destiny would be forever intertwined with the Emperor's Great Crusade. Leman Russ's early years are surrounded by stories and legends. He was said to have turned back entire armies by himself, tearing oak trees from the ground and wrestling Fenrisian mammoths. When King Thengir died, there was no doubt who would take his place. Leman Russ became king of all Fenris, his leadership recognized across the land. His strength and valor became known far and wide, and his influence spread throughout the tribes of Fenris. The Wolf King became a living legend, his fame reaching the Emperor. As the Emperor's fleets neared Fenris, they heard tales of the mighty Wolf King, and the Emperor himself descended upon the icy world. In the coming years, Leman Russ and his warriors would leave Fenris to join the Great Crusade, where the Wolf King would become a force to be reckoned with, leading his legion in battle across the stars. Leman Russ was hailed as the Wolf King, his judgment as strong as his sword arm, and no tribe could stand against him. His reign brought peace between man and wolf in Fenris, a land where only the strongest survived. The Emperor, upon hearing of the Wolf King, journeyed to Fenris disguised as a wanderer. Upon his arrival, Russ refused to acknowledge the stranger as the master of mankind. The Emperor knew well that the proud Wolf King would never bow without a contest. And so, a challenge was issued. They would test their strength in 3 contests: eating, drinking, and combat. The Emperor lost the first 2 contests, but in the final battle, the Emperor defeated Leman Russ. The Wolf King, bloodied and broken, swore fealty to his true father, the Emperor of mankind. From that day forward, Leman Russ and his space wolves would serve the Emperor in the Great Crusade, bound by duty and honor to the Imperium. The origins of the 6th Legion are shrouded in secrecy. They were created alongside the 18th and 20th Legions, each with unique purposes, though little is known of the specifics. Their creation was veiled in mystery, and the early intake of candidates was marked by high levels of failure, leading to a slow and painful development. Unlike some of their brother legions, the 6th Legion had a tumultuous start, their gene seed proving difficult to stabilize. Their first major action came in the compliance of Delsvan, where the Legion was deployed against a defiant human world. The 6th Legion struck with overwhelming force, quickly destroying the enemy's resistance. The planet was brought into compliance, but the cost was high, and questions arose about the Legion's discipline or lack thereof. The 6th Legion's bloodlust was evident, and it seemed that their officers had little control over the violence that unfolded. Still, the Emperor was satisfied with their results and granted them a sub-fleet to command. From there, the 6th Legion continued its bloody campaign across the stars, growing in strength and reputation, though their methods remained controversial. As the 6th Legion continued its service in the Great Crusade, their reputation grew. They were known for their ferocity and their willingness to fight dirty, but also for the brutal discipline they imposed on their own ranks. The Legion often employed a special disciplinary corps to keep their warriors in check, punishing any who disobeyed orders or failed to meet their standards. The Malorian Revolt became infamous for the excesses of the 6th Legion. Sent to crush a rebellion, the Legion quickly spiraled into uncontrollable violence. It was only through the intervention of the Discipline Corps that any survivors remained. The Legion's unrelenting violence would become their hallmark, and while their victories were undeniable, they were often questioned for their brutal tactics. The 6th Legion's reputation as savage, bloodthirsty warriors continued to spread, and they earned a new nickname, the Rout. They were compared to jackals preying upon the weak and finishing off the defeated. Though the Legion fought well, their methods were viewed with suspicion even by their fellow legions. Yet, despite these accusations, the 6th Legion continued to march forward, their bloodlust never fully tamed. By the second decade of the Great Crusade, the 6th Legion's reputation had become a mixed one. Though they had gained many victories, they were known for their savage methods, often inflicting unnecessary collateral damage on civilian populations. Some claimed that the 6th Legion was too bestial, a label that only became more evident as time passed. The warriors of the 6th Legion were known for their internal strife, with factionalism often bubbling beneath the surface. This led some to believe that they were less a united force and more a collection of individual officers, each driven by their own strength. This was a time when the Primarchs had not yet fully stamped their mark on the legions, but the 6th Legion was already known for its ferocity. It was often spoken of alongside the Night Lords, known for their terror and savagery, though the 6th Legion was seen as less honorable in comparison. Yet despite the criticisms, the 6th Legion pressed forward, their savage nature always present but under control when necessary. They were always eager for battle, especially when their enemies were already defeated. This earned them the nickname the Rout, and their reputation as jackals persisted. But through it all, they remained warriors without peer, ready to answer the Emperor's call. Leman Russ and the Emperor's first meeting was one of contest. As the Emperor approached the Wolf King disguised in a simple robe, Russ, ever proud, refused to acknowledge the Emperor's authority without a fight. The challenge was issued. The Emperor would face the Wolf King in 3 contests. In the first 2, Leman Russ proved victorious, eating and drinking more than the Emperor could match. But when it came to the 3rd challenge, combat, the Emperor revealed his true form, and the 2 fought. Though Russ stood strong, it was the Emperor who triumphed, leaving Leman Russ bloodied and beaten. With a broken fang and a bloodied smile, Leman Russ swore his fealty to the Emperor, pledging himself and his warriors to the Imperium. From that moment, Leman Russ and the Space Wolves would serve the Emperor in the Great Crusade, bound by a blood oath and the loyalty of the Wolf King. After joining the Great Crusade, Leman Russ became a powerful force, leading his Space Wolves into battle across the galaxy. Armed with his legendary Frostblade and his mighty strength, Russ fought at the front lines, leading his legion to victory after victory. Alongside him marched his loyal Varagir, the Fenrisian warriors who had sworn loyalty to him, even as they underwent the grueling trials to become Astartes. Leman Russ and his Space Wolves were always at the forefront of the Great Crusade, battling Xenos and traitors alike. The 6th Legion fought with a savagery and ferocity unmatched by any other, and their name became feared across the galaxy. Though their methods were often questioned, the Space Wolves proved time and again that their loyalty to the Emperor and their prowess in battle were without equal. And as the Great Crusade continued, Leman Russ led his warriors with pride, ready to take on whatever challenge the galaxy threw their way. Under the leadership of Leman Russ, the Space Wolves continued to carve a bloody path across the stars, their reputation growing with each victory. They fought alongside their fellow legions, but it was clear that the 6th Legion had earned a fearsome reputation of their own. Their savage tactics and brutal efficiency in battle made them a force to be reckoned with. The Space Wolves were sent to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, answering the call of the Emperor to bring compliance to distant worlds. No matter the cost, they would press forward, always with their fangs bared and their eyes set on victory. By the 2nd century of the Great Crusade, the Space Wolves were a legion apart from the others. Their expeditionary fleets went where they willed, fought where they wished, and answered only to the Emperor. But most often, they fought alone. The high commanders of the Imperium knew better than to command them, for the Space Wolves answered only to one leader, Leman Russ, and Russ, in turn, answered to the Emperor alone. Their loyalty to the Emperor was unwavering, and they cared little for the opinions of others. They had a rivalry, of course, with the Dark Angels, whom they had shared dark days with, but to the other legions, the Space Wolves held a distant respect at best. They needed no domain but Fenris. It had been their home for as long as they could remember, and it was all they needed. Most things were self-sustained, save for new warships or engines, which they obtained from Terra or the Forge worlds of Ryza and Lucius. Approach to Fenris was forbidden without invitation, The Space Wolves had become a mystery to outsiders, strange, inscrutable. Many feared them, though few understood that this fear had been carefully cultivated. Outsiders saw barbarity, but that was just the surface. The Space Wolves had tempered their strength and ferocity with sharp minds, and what others saw as savagery, they had crafted with purpose. They had become a weapon in the Emperor's hand, their true power hidden behind the facade of their wildness. In the shadows of the Great Crusade, the Space Wolves fought many battles few ever heard of. Their most secret wars, those known only to the Emperor and Leman Russ, were recorded only on the black basalt memento mori on Bao. There, side by side with the Blood Angels, they had once destroyed a 4th stage enslaver outbreak on Poseidonus Secundus. It was one of only 3 such outbreaks that had been defeated without resorting to exterminatus. But these victories were not told to the masses. To most of the Imperium, the Space Wolves' triumphs remained hidden, marked only by battle honors on the Great Bell of Terra. Some of their victories, even those known, were ignored or dismissed by the remembrancers and iterators. The Space Wolves cared little for such praise. They had their own histories, written not in records, but in sagas and myths. Their true deeds were wiped from their memories by the Emperor's order, kept secret to preserve their sanity. What they had seen and done in service to the Emperor was not meant to be remembered. The Space Wolves kept their secrets close, bound by honor and loyalty to their Wolf King and to the Emperor they served. Before the Horus Heresy broke into open conflict, the Space Wolves found themselves at odds with one of their own, Magnus the Red. Magnus had used his psychic sorcery, defying the Emperor's edict from the Council of Nicaea, to warn the Emperor of Horus's betrayal. But the Emperor, refusing to believe Horus could fall to chaos, blamed Magnus instead. Leman Russ and the Space Wolves were ordered to bring Magnus to Terra, but Horus had already set his plans in motion. Instead of peaceful negotiation, Russ was persuaded by Horus to launch a full assault on the Thousand Suns homeworld of Prospero. What followed was a brutal, destructive battle. Magnus and his sons, unable to defend their knowledge and power, turned to the Chaos God Sinch. They fled through the warp, finding refuge in the Eye of Terror. This battle, the fall of Prospero, left a deep and lasting hatred between the Space Wolves and the Thousand Suns. The grudge would last for millennia, never to be fully healed. After the death of Horus and the Emperor's entombment on the Golden Throne, the Imperium sought to cleanse the galaxy of chaos once and for all. The Space Wolves led the charge in what became known as the Great Scouring, driving the traitors back for 7 long years. The death of Horus did little to end the war. Though his forces were defeated, the Chaos armies continued to fight. With the Space Wolves at the forefront, the traitors were hunted down, one by one, until only remnants of their forces remained, hiding in the Eye of Terror. In the wake of the heresy, the Imperium began to rebuild, but the wounds of war were still fresh. The Space Wolves, though victorious, had lost much, and their future was uncertain. year 211 of the 31st millennium, Leman Russ disappeared. No one knew where he went. Some believed he had entered the Eye of Terror, seeking his old friend, the Dark Angel's Primarch Lion L. Johnson. Others whispered that he still walked among mankind, watching over them, guarding them from the dangers of chaos. The last time the Space Wolves saw their Primarch, he had gathered them for a feast. He spoke to them, then froze as if struck by some vision. With a few final words, he left the hall, accompanied only by his most trusted warriors. Bjorn the Fell-Handed, the dreadnought of the Space Wolves, would live on to recount this moment every 1,000 years. He alone had been left behind. Many believed that Russ had gone in search of the Tree of Life, a powerful warp font that could heal the Emperor, but no one knew for sure. What was certain was that Russ had vanished without a trace. And so the first great hunt began. As Bjorn and the other warriors searched for their lost Primarch, they journeyed across the stars, fighting battles and facing dangers, but they never found Russ. After the death of Horus, the Imperium was rebuilt, and the Space Marines were reorganized under the Codex Astartes. Leman Russ, however, did not comply. When Robut Gilliman, now the de facto regent of the Imperium, sought to break the legions into smaller chapters, Russ refused to follow. Instead, he agreed to divide the Space Wolves into 13 great companies. Each company was to function as a semi-autonomous unit, answering only to their wolf lords, not to Gilliman. The Space Wolves remained as they had always been, fierce and proud, unwilling to be bound by the Codex. The Wolf Brothers, a Space Wolf successor chapter created by Russ, was eventually purged by the Inquisition. The genetic instability of the Canis Helix had led them to develop the curse of the Wulfen at a dangerous level. This was just one of many reasons why the Space Wolves had no successor chapters of their own, despite their status as a first founding legion. Still, the High Lords of Terra recognized the need for some form of defense around the Eye of Terra, and the Astartes Briseis was created. This group of 20 chapters was tasked with keeping watch over the Eye of Terror, just as Russ had once intended. The great contest of souls between chaos and order reached a climax in the Fenris system. The Space Wolves, defenders of their home world, faced the greatest challenge they had ever known. As warp storms ravaged the galaxy, the Space Wolves found themselves hunted by enemies both old and new. The long-lost 13th Company returned, and the Wulfen, the mutated brothers of the Space Wolves, emerged once more. The Wulfen fought alongside their kin, despite their beastly appearance, and many victories were won, but suspicion surrounded their return. Some saw them as tainted by chaos, a reminder of the old curse of the Wulfen. Despite their doubts, the Space Wolves fought together, pushing back the forces of chaos. But the tension between them and their allies only grew. The Dark Angels, watching their brothers with suspicion, saw the Wulfen as dangerous and a growing rivalry brewed. But in the face of chaos, they fought alongside the Space Wolves, united for a time. The battle for Fenris grew darker as deception and betrayal took root. The Changeling, a demon of Sinch, disguised itself as a Dark Angel's officer, sowing discord among the Space Marines. It claimed the Wulfen were beyond redemption, that the Space Wolves had fallen to chaos, and that their chapter needed to be purged. The Dark Angels, led by Supreme Grandmaster Azrael, were convinced that Exterminatus was the only solution. The battle for Midgardia raged as the Imperial fleet descended upon Fenris. Logan Grimnar was missing, presumed dead, and the Space Wolves fought alone against their accusers. The Changeling's lies had torn brothers apart, but in the end, the truth came to light. The Changeling was revealed, and the Imperial fleet ceased fire. As the war for Fenris reached its height, the silver towers of Sinch descended from the sky. 9 of these great arcane citadels appeared over Fenris, each aligned with sights of power. Magnus, watching from the Eye of Terror, had begun his great work of conquest. Fenris, once again, was a battlefield. The silver towers stood as symbols of his power, floating through the sky, each one a beacon of chaos. The crimson light of Sinch glimmered upon their spires, casting a shadow over the world. Fenris had once more become a war zone. Before the Horus Heresy, the Space Wolves Legion moved to war clad in gunmetal gray power armor, a tone that echoed the unadorned battle plate of the Grey Legions from the days of the early Terran Unification Wars. Even then, their war gear carried the marks of Fenris. Cultural artifacts, carved runes, and careful artisan modifications shaped the look of every suit. These markings were never merely decoration. Each symbol held coded references to the warrior's own history, to his deeds, to his unit, and to his great company. Their meaning could shift depending on where they were placed, or what signs rested beside them. An older suit of armor often bore layers of exotic decoration and honor markings, quiet proof of long and storied service. Runes of protection were inscribed upon battleplate as testimony to skill in war. Among the warriors of the 6th Legion, such runes were a common sign of leaders within their war bands. Wolf hides were often affixed to armor as well, another tradition drawn from Fenris. Much like the drake hunting customs of the 18th Legion, these belts served as displays of prowess, marking dominance within a warband. By the 41st millennium, their armor had taken on a blue-gray hue, accented most often with red and yellow. Pelts, tails, and teeth from Fenrisian wolves adorned their plate, binding them still to their home world. The symbols of each great company varied, yet all were rooted in Fenrisian mythology and tied in some way to the 12 wolves of Fenris. The 13th Company retained the darker gray and the red Legion badge of earlier times. Their warbands carried similar red wolf themes, though precise markings differed from group to group. True to their disregard for authority and for the strict dictates of the Codex Astartes, their iconography followed no rigid system. There was a general code. Pack markings were usually borne on the right shoulder plate, while the designator of the Great Company rested on the left. Yet within these loose boundaries, variety thrived. Each warrior kept the honor tradition of displaying his pack marking across the right shoulder, sometimes repeating it upon a knee guard. Their armored vehicles bore the same ritualized iconography. Transports carried the pack marking of their passengers, while battle tanks and support vehicles displayed the symbols of their crew. Individual honor markings were set upon fields of gray, quiet emblems of courage and survival. In the days of the Legion, their heraldic badge was a snarling red wolf's head. In the present era, the chapter badge shows a black wolf's head set against a yellow field. At times, a more elaborate version appears, worked in silver upon a silver diamond background. Most warriors, however, wear not the chapter badge, but the chosen sigil of their great company. Only the great wolf and the elite of his own household bear the chapter symbol openly. The Space Wolves follow a system unlike that of Codex Astartes compliant chapters. Rather than fixed company markings, they use distinct wolf badges to mark each great company. These sigils take the form of stylized wolves, each reflecting some aspect of Fenrisian mythology. When a new wolf lord rises from the ranks of the Wolf Guard, he chooses the emblem of his great company, and all who serve beneath him adopt it as a mark of fealty. The badge is woven into their banners and carried into battle. When that wolf lord falls, a new one is chosen, and the badge may change with him. Even so, their reputation for nonconformity remains clear. There is never only one way to render a great company badge, and variations often appear side by side within the same company. Imperial records speak of 3 different stylizations of the Blakemane wolf emblem used by the great company of Ragnar Blackmane, known as the Blackmanes. Across the centuries, hundreds of distinct badge styles have been recorded by patient scribes. One great company alone does not alter its emblem when its leader falls. The household of the Great Wolf bears the badge called the Wolf that Stalks Between Stars, the emblem of Leman Russ himself. No recorded variant exists of this sign, a testament to the enduring respect held for their Primarch. This is the badge that represents the chapter as a whole, woven into the chapter banner and borne upon its most sacred relics. Many treasured artifacts carry the same mark, having served since the days when Russ still walked among the stars. Sacred banners preserve its image as a link to that distant era. Among all relics, perhaps the most revered is the dreadnought Bjorn the Fell-Handed, who fought beside Russ during the Great Crusade 10,000 standard years ago. He bears the mark upon his dreadnought shell, a quiet sign of his unique place within the chapter. Acts of bravery, courage, and skill are deeply valued, and the Space Wolves display personal badges to honor such deeds. These markings are painted or carved into armor and weapons. Vehicles and their crews that perform extraordinary feats receive honor badges of their own. Some take the form of ancient Fenrisian runes that speak of great victories. Others use stylized heraldic symbols to honor both machine and warrior. There is no formal system of awards. What matters is that a Space Wolf's pack understands the meaning of the sign he bears. Over time, certain symbols have gained special significance, such as the Sergeant and Veteran badges. Repeated motifs appear often. bones tend to signify wounds endured in battle. Knife and claw sigils speak of ferocity and bravery. Wolf tails recall moments of exemplary courage under fire. When warriors from several great companies gather for a campaign, they often adopt a special badge to mark their shared service. Each Space Wolf and each vehicle within such a task force displays this sign. The current task force of Ragnar Blackmane bears a fanged wolf skull set above crossed bones upon a black lozenge. This emblem has appeared many times before, suggesting some deeper cultural meaning known only to the sons of Fenris. The Space Marines of the Emperor's legions of old were shaped for war in every possible way. They were engineered in flesh and bone, conditioned in mind and tempered in soul, until little remained but purpose. Each legion carried its own nature within it, born from its gene seed and from the warrior culture that grew around it. Among them, the Space Wolves' legion stood apart. They were known for their savagery, yet they were equally known for their obedience to the will of the Emperor. There was a distance about them, something aloof and difficult to grasp. Around themselves they wove layers of myth and allegory, a living shield of story and symbol that guarded their secrets. Not only who they were, but what they had done in service to the master of mankind remained hidden behind that veil. Their gen seed was unlike that of the other Legiones Astartes. It carried within it the Canis Helix, a change that shaped them in ways both powerful and perilous. It granted them heightened instincts, making them gifted hunters and ferocious killers, yet it also drew them closer to the pull of their own drives. To some, this made them more beast than man. To others, it was simply the price of their strength. The Canis Helix is spoken of with a kind of fearful respect. Its potency has cost the lives of countless aspirants, their bodies writhing in agony as the change overtakes them. Those who do not die may be twisted into slavering monsters, and yet, without this vital fragment of Leman Russ's heritage, no other gene helix can be placed within them at all. When it first takes hold, the transformation is terrible to behold. The mind slips backward into something primal. Bones split and bend, thick hair spreads across the body, and hunger becomes overwhelming. The need for fresh meat and hot blood rises like a storm. Body mass swells dramatically. Bones fuse together. From the gums, canine fangs begin to push through. During this violent change, the warrior must confront the shadow within. If he cannot master it, he may fall to the curse of the Wulfen, losing reason and humanity to become a giant, feral creature. Survival demands strength, not only of body, but of will. With age, further changes settle in. Hair grows coarse and wiry, turning a particular shade of gray. The fangs lengthen into true wolf-like teeth. Skin thickens and hardens, taking on the feel of a belt. Most Space Wolf Astartes become heavily hirsute. When these traits have fully matured, they often mark a warrior who has become a gray hunter, counted among the veterans of the chapter. For those who endure the long centuries of unrelenting war across countless battlefields, time brings another transformation. Hair air turns white as driven Fenrisian snow. The fangs grow into tusks. These elders are known as Long Fangs, and they are honored by their younger kin. They have mastered the wolf within, holding their warlike spirit in check with iron resolve, standing firm like stone against which the blades of their foes break. Fenris is a death world in the Segmentum Obscurus, and it is the home of the Volca Fenrica, the warriors others call the Space Wolves. It is also the world that gave birth to their Primarch, Leman Russ. Upon this harsh planet stands the Fang, a fortress so vast that many scholars believe it to be the greatest bastion of the Imperium beyond the Imperial Palace on Terra. The world takes its name from a wolf of ancient myth, a beast said to have been fathered by a trickster god and destined to rise at the final battle. Across Fenris, many places still carry names drawn from those old tales and from the lost languages of old Earth. Fenris lies in the galactic south of the Segmentum Obscurus, at the edge of the warp rift known as the Eye of Terror. From that darkness, the forces of chaos emerge to raid and pillage, and so this world stands at the forefront of the Imperium's defense. The vigil begun at the end of the Horus Heresy continues still, as the space wolves watch over many scattered worlds. Yet it is this bitter sphere of fire and ice that they proudly call home. Most of Fenris is ocean. Small islands rise from the ever-churning sea, scattered and uncertain. Only one great landmass endures, the continent of Asaheim, resting in the far north. The planet moves in a long and narrow path around its pale sun, the Wolf's Eye, and a single orbit takes roughly 2 Terran years. The people call this span of time a great year. For much of that long cycle, Fenris drifts far from its weak star and cold claims the surface. The world sea freezes solid. Even the equatorial waters harden into ice, so that from orbit the world appears like a frozen sphere. Volcanoes fall silent, and at the height of winter, a man may walk from isle to isle across the ice. As the world draws closer to the Wolf's Eye once more, a brief spring stirs the surface. Ice retreats toward the poles, and vast creatures of the deep rise to feed on plankton and bladefish that bloom in the returning light. Then comes the closest approach to the star, when tidal forces twist the crust beneath the oceans and expose molten mantle to the frigid sea. It is then that the time of fire and water arrives. Islands burst upward from the steaming waves, pouring lava down their slopes. Beneath the surface, the seas boil, and sulfurous vapors roll across the world. Great tidal waves scour the shores of Asaheim and the scattered isles. Some lands endure the violence, yet many are shattered or swallowed, their people lost to the depths. Through every upheaval, the granite mass of Asaheim stands firm, unchanged amid ruin and torment. Such extremes have shaped the people who dwell there. They live as primitive nomadic tribes, hardened by cold and flame alike. Land is the most precious resource, for no one knows how it will change when the great year turns again. When islands vanish and archipelagos sink, wars break out between rival tribes. Survival belongs to those who can claim new ground and hold it. After the fires fade, the tribes must settle swiftly upon the lands newly formed, for their stores cannot last forever. If no safe place can be found, they return to war. Life upon Fenris is one of constant seaborne migration and struggle. The people speak a dialect of Low Gothic called Uvik, close in sound to ancient Scandinavian tongues, a lingering echo of the world's first colonists. The people of Fenris have grown accustomed to the destruction that sweeps their world with each great year. They accept the endless change with a fierce pride. Only upon Asaheim are humans shielded from the worst extremes of climate. There, creatures roam that cannot survive elsewhere on the planet. Massive ice bears and towering elk move across the land alongside shaggy mastodons. Stranger beings dwell there too, snow trolls and shape-changing doppelgangers, and white worms that burrow through glacier and fjord. Yet the most dangerous hunters are the Fenrisian wolves themselves. They are semi-sentient, cunning as well as savage, and the greatest among them rival any predator that stalks the frozen wastes. Asaheim stands apart from the rest of the world, encircled by cliffs that rise thousands of feet above the sea. It is remote and forbidding. To the tribesmen beyond its rocky bounds, it is the land of the gods. Upon the tallest mountain of Asaheim rises the fortress monastery of the Space Wolves. Across the Imperium, it is known as the Fang, and to its inhabitants it is the Ayet. The mountain bears many names, among them the Shoulder of the Allfather and Volda Hamarki, the world's spine. From this height, the citadel extends deep into the surrounding range and even into orbit, drawing power from the molten core below. Anti-ship laser weapons lie hidden among nearby peaks. At the summit rest docks for battle barges and strike cruisers. Shrines to the Emperor line the lower slopes, while fast fusion and geothermal reactors burn in the depths. Built during the Great Crusade by the Adeptus Mechanicus, using knowledge long since lost, the Fang is counted among the most impregnable fortresses in the galaxy outside of Terra itself. It has never been conquered, though in the 32nd millennium, the Thousand Suns' most hated foes of the Space Wolves managed to seize the outer slopes for a brief time during the first battle for the Fang. The fortress endured. Among the most sacred places of the Space Wolves is the Shrine of Garm, built upon the world that bears the same name. At its heart rests the sarcophagus of a legendary hero who fought in the days of the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy. He gave his life to save Leman Russ, and in gratitude, the Primarch fashioned a sarcophagus of intricate detail to honor his deeds and guard his remains. Upon its lid, Russ laid his own weapon, the Spear of Russ, a relic upon which countless oaths were sworn. For thousands of years, the shrine drew pilgrims from the chapter and was guarded by Astartes and Carols. When Ragnar Blackmane was still a bloodclaw of the Thunderfist's great company, the shrine came under attack. A force of 1,000 Suns, led by the sorcerer Lord Maddox, struck and carried off the spear. Enraged, the Space Wolves marched to end the rebellion rising on Garm and reclaim what had been taken. At the height of battle, Ragnar hurled the Spear of Russ into the single eye of an emerging image of Magnus the Red, cast through a warp portal beneath one of Garm's manufactory cities. The portal closed, the battle was won, yet the spear was lost, and Ragnar was exiled to the Wolfblade. In time, a plot was uncovered. The Thousand Sons had sought to use the spear to bring about the downfall of the chapter. A strike force that included Ragnar and 2 Wolfblade companions attacked the ritual site. Many young Bloodclaws fell, and one of the Wolfblades gave his life, but the enemy was defeated and the spear reclaimed. It now rests once more atop Garm's sarcophagus, a quiet reminder of duty, honor, and sacrifice. On the world of Peleus stood the Temple of the Storm Wolves, once the resting place of the Fist of Russ, said to have been wielded by Leman Russ himself. Long ago, the artifact was stolen in a raid by unknown Xenos and lost. Many have searched for it, including the Lord Commander Solar Maharius, yet none have recovered it. Little is known of the temple now, and whether it still stands remains uncertain. Far from Fenris on the world of Demetrius, a radical worship of Leman Russ took root without the chapter's knowledge. Priests used arcane technology to reshape men into towering beasts with vast muscles, white fur, and lupine snouts. They fought fiercely against the Astra Militarum during the Macarian Crusade, guarding an artifact called the Fist of Demetrius, believed by Lord Solar Maharius to be the lost Fist of Rus. It was not the Primarch's weapon, though it was indeed an ancient relic of the chapter. The priests claimed it had been left in their care by Leman Russ during the Great Crusade, and perhaps that claim held truth. The devotion shown by the people of Demetrius endured, even though the Astartes had not set foot upon their world for many thousands of Terran years. To take a mortal man, even one hardened by the brutal world of Fenris, and shape him into a sky warrior is a long and perilous path. Many begin it. Many do not survive. Those who endure prove their strength, their cunning, and their unbreakable will, becoming worthy heirs to the gene heritage of Leman Russ. The young are chosen early, drawn from the strongest youths of the feral tribes of Fenris. In the deep winter, strangers move through the long halls. Tales speak of towering warriors wrapped in furs, their eyes burning as they challenge the proudest tribesmen to contests of strength and drink. They wrestle the strongest to the ground. They outdrink the hardiest without faltering. When all challengers have fallen, they take the most worthy and vanish into the dark. Sometimes they watch from distant hills when tribes clash over newly risen islands. If a warrior shows greatness in battle, the strangers descend. Even if he stands at death's edge, they claim him and carry him into the storm. The tribes do not mourn, for they believe the chosen now walk among gods. These strangers are the wolf priests, the choosers of the valiant, and the youths they take will be tested without mercy. Those selected are brought to training camps upon the stable continent of Aesheim, to places such as Rusvik, Grimnir, and Velksburg. There they gather into small fighting units known as Wolf Brothers. In these camps, they learn through hardship. They face harsh weather, savage beasts, and the unyielding demands of their overseers. Strength alone is not enough. They must learn to fight as a pack, to stand and fall together. Only those who prove themselves in body and spirit are finally accepted into the chapter as blood claws. For those who survive the early months, deeper trials await. Each test measures not only strength, but wit and resolve, and places the young warrior in mortal danger. In time, he must face the 2 trials of Morkai, one for each head of the wolf god. First, he stands before the council of rune priests, who examine his mind as keenly as his body was once tested. Deep within the Fang lies the gate of Morkai, a vast portal crowned with the wolf god's image and surrounded by rivers of fire. Runes of great power are carved into its ancient stone. Once the warrior beholds it, he must step through. To refuse is to confess weakness, and there is no place among the Sky Warriors for a heart that wavers. Beyond the gate, his thoughts no longer belong to him. The rune priest search his soul for doubt, for hidden corruption, for any buried temptation that might one day betray his brothers. Each aspirant faces a trial shaped to his own nature. Often he believes himself cast into impossible battles, illusions woven by psychic force so real that instinct alone guides him. Some never wake from these visions. Their minds are scoured clean, and they are given over to the Iron Priests to live on as thrall servitors. Those who endure awaken changed but unbroken, yet even then, the hardest test still lies ahead. The final trial is always the same. It is called the Test of Morkai, and it pushes even the strongest to their limit. The warrior is taken far from the Fang, deep into the barren wastes. There he drinks from the cup of Wulfen, a relic bound to ancient legend. It is said that Leman Russ once offered this cup to his first followers. One named Wulfen drank with jealousy in his heart and was transformed into the first of the wolf mutants, an embodiment of the wolf spirit, twisted by inner darkness. Russ declared that the unworthy would share that fate, though none turned away before drinking. Those who survived became the first space wolves of Fenris. In truth, the cup carries the Canis Helix, the spirit of the wolf, a genetic catalyst drawn from the genome of Leman Russ. It awakens the viral machinery that begins the creation of the gene seed within the aspirant. Its power is terrible. Many perish as their bodies convulse and break. Others are twisted into feral creatures. Without it, no further transformation is possible. During this agony, the warrior is cast into the wild and must find his own path back. His bones split and reform. Thick hair spreads across his flesh. His body grows heavier, stronger, and strange fangs press through his gums. Hunger and bloodlust cloud his thoughts. He must master the shadow rising within him. If he fails, he becomes one of the Wulfen, doomed to roam Fenris or to be caged by former brothers until battle calls them forth. If he returns to the Fang, despite pain and peril, the remaining gene seed is implanted. The Canis Helix is stabilized, and his transformation is complete. He's clad in the ancient armor of a fallen wolf brother, and welcomed into one of the 12 great companies as a blood claw, a full initiate among the chapter. the shadow lingers. In moments of great strain, some feel the beast stir within them. This is the curse of the Wulfen, feared by all. Still, those who endure will live for centuries, sailing the sea of stars to fight in the All-Father's name. They will face orcs, demons, Tyranids, and the horrors of warp space. For a warrior born of Fenris, it is a life that truly feels like walking among gods. The Space Wolves are raised on the old sagas of Fenris, stories of star-striding wolves, of monstrous foes, and of heroes who stand unbowed in the dark. From childhood, they learn to distrust both advanced machines and the touch of sorcery. The people of Fenris are harsh, yet they carry a fierce nobility, and that same bearing follows each recruit into the chapter. At the heart of their belief stands Leman Russ and the Emperor, whom they call the All-Father. To them, these are not distant figures, but the highest examples of what mankind can be, heroes whose memory stirs courage and honor. Others do not always look kindly upon these traditions. The ecclesiarchy views them with distaste, sometimes even open hostility, and many dismiss them as backward or superstitious. Yet the sons of Russ offer no apology. Their faith has led to clashes, and at times open war, when their way of life was challenged. The Space Wolf speaks of his soul as a thread. When he dies, it is said that his thread has been severed. In earlier times, the fallen were committed to flame upon a pyre rather than sealed within stone. When a warrior of great standing passes, a sending away feast is prepared in his honor. Before the feast begins, the great company Skjald gathers tales from every brother, stories of many lengths and moods, and during the long ritual he recounts them one by one, with rest between each telling. The chamber is sealed for the duration. None may enter, none may leave, until every memorized story has been spoken. Such a feast can last for solar days, even for weeks, if that is what is required. After Haelroth, Long Fang fell during the Great Crusade, Dre Company held a feast in which 432 tales were told in remembrance. In the late 41st millennium, the honored dead are interred or burned upon the flattened peak of Mount Krakagard, or laid to rest in places of meaning, such as the tomb of Garm, where the spear of Russ rests, or the tomb of Harik Ironhelm upon the flank of the Fang. There is also an ancient rule, quiet but unyielding. Judgment and trial must take place upon solid ground, not within a starship drifting through the void, but upon the earth itself. When a verdict must be given, the Space Wolves will divert to the nearest world or moon, set their boots upon real soil, and only there pass sentence as the old ways of Fenris demand. Among their symbols is the Eye of Aversion, carved into stone or metal when danger presses close. It is cut into a wall or a support beam to warn of sorcery or heavy enemy presence. Once the thread has been driven back, the mark is struck through, a quiet sign that the path is clear again. In earlier ages, during the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, the warriors and their serfs wore rout masks of leather and bone. These masks were meant to frighten away Maleficarum, though by the time of the first Battle of the Fang in the 32nd millennium, they had largely fallen from use. When the Space Wolves speak of chaos, they often call it the Primordial Annihilator, a name spoken with the weight of old memory. The rune priests practice the casting of the runes, laying out signs that whisper of fate and counsel wolf lords and the great wolf when grave decisions must be made. They read Adiyar for blood and Fengder for the wolf within, and see Gmorl as fate itself. Hata and Emer hold meanings unknown, while Yars and Trisk carry the chill of ice. Ragnarok speaks of ending, and Rosen, Svar, and Jaz are runes set against Maleficarum. In these symbols they search for guidance, listening to the quiet pattern of word. From the time of their induction, aspirants are taught of the 12 wolves of Fenris, legendary companions who stand beside them in battle, whether upon their home world, on distant soil, or beneath the stars. Each great company takes its sign and manner of war from one of these wolves, each carrying a different lesson. Yet always there lingers the 13th wolf, the Wulfen, a savage presence that must be guarded against within their own souls. The Blackmane is remembered as the deadliest of Fenrisian wolves, while the bloodied hunter revels in the chase beneath a full moon. The dark wolf moves without howl or growl, silent as deep cold, shepherding spirits toward the tombs of the underworld, until the final battle of the wolf time. Rune priests sometimes sense this dark wolf watching their threads, waiting for the hour when death will claim them. Drekken the Thunderwolf embodies raw strength, and the fire breather dwells within a vast volcano, casting wrath into the heavens. The firewolf heralds the season of fire, when land and sea are reshaped and glory or doom approaches. Freki and Jerry, companions of Leman Russ, stand as a sign that the pack is stronger than any lone warrior. The great devourer is shown devouring a star, an ominous image, while Hagar the mountain wolf teaches endurance against the harshest elements. The Ice Wolf once served Morkai and struck Leman Russ in battle before being cast into the sun around which Fenris turns. From a single fang left behind, Russ forged a blade for his sons, and Svelbrander endures in service. The Iron Wolf speaks to the forge and the craft of the Iron Priests. Lacan, the Runed Wolf, guides those who seek the mysteries of runes. Lokiar, the Lone Wolf, teaches that sometimes a warrior must stand apart. Morkai, twin-headed guardian of the underworld, was cast down by Leman Russ and now stands watch over the frozen realm of the dead. The Night Runner is born as an icon by great companies, and the great company of the Great Wolf, Logan Grimnar, carries it as its original sign. Ranek, the Hidden Wolf, whispers of stealth and the bite from darkness. The Sea Wolf rules the deadly oceans, and the Spirit Wolf guards the soul, invoked against corruption and possession, its metal totems marking the hull of Logan Grimnar's chariot Stormrider. The Sun Wolf rises from the heart of Fenris' sun, casting harsh light across the world. Thengur the Wolf King embodies Fenris and the Fang itself. Torvald the Far-Sighted teaches that observation may win a battle before blades are drawn. The Wolf of the Red Moon stalks the unworthy, claiming those denied entry into the halls of Morkai. The wolf that stalks between stars remains the totem of Leman Russ and the icon of every great wolf, reminding them that wherever they walk, they carry Fenris with them. Many space wolves bear deed names, sometimes added to their birth name, sometimes replacing it among their brothers. These names are earned through courage, skill, luck, or knowledge, and they often tell a quiet story. Beric Thunderfist carries his bionic Power Fist in his title, while Canis Wolfborn reflects a childhood among wolves. Ulf Blackbrow is marked by his great shaggy brows. At times, a D-Day-C name recalls a single defining moment. Niall Stormcaller earned his name when he summoned a vast storm during the Tokaran War and drove the forces of chaos from the field. Ragnar Blackmane bears the memory of the legendary wolf he slew during his trial of Morkai. Bran Redmaw carries a name that leaves little doubt as to its origin. Over years of battle, a veteran may gather several such titles, some replacing the old, others remaining as a favorite name for life. In the depths of savage winters, a wolf lord may lead his warriors into the wild for a beast hunt. They go unarmed, relying only on wit and skill, and may not return to the Fang without the carcass of a slain beast. The first to come back is often the wolf lord himself, taking his place at the head of the feast. The last to return is called the Tail, and instead of feasting, he serves red meat and blood-laced ale to his battle brothers, an ignominy that often ends in a brawl. There are times when the Great Wolf or the Rune Priests glimpse a vision of their lost Primarch, and a great hunt is declared. Though none have yet found Russ, each hunt has fulfilled some purpose. One such hunt recovered his sacred armor from the Temple of Horus on the world of Rudra near the Eye of Terror. Another uncovered the Corellian conspiracy before it could seize the Administratum in a bloody coup. Yet another saw the destruction of Genstealer infestations within the Gehenna system. Whenever a great hunt is called, it feels as though the lost Primarch has set a task before his sons, guiding them still from beyond sight. The Pale Hunters were known across the Legionis Astartes for their skill in the hunt. Only the White Scars matched them in reputation, and in many ways their methods of pursuit and the final strike were alike in both thought and execution. Speed mattered to the Space Wolves, and certainty in the killing blow, yet they leaned more toward the slow and bloody wearing down of a foe, much like the wolves of ancient Terran tales. No mercy was given to those marked as prey. Honor was not offered. What followed was remorseless cruelty, until death itself seemed a blessing to those who endured it. They did not shy away from the gore of a full frontal assault. When such a moment came, their character shaped the violence. To them, battle turned upon a single terrible instant, the breaking of the line. In that heartbeat, one side shattered the strength of the other in an act of unstoppable force. After that, what remained for the enemy was only the slow end of a body whose heart had already been torn free by a bloodied claw. In later ages, the Space Wolves walked a different path from many of their brother Space Marines. Within each great company, there were distinct packs, each with its own place in battle. A warrior's life moved through clear stages, from youth to age, until his fangs were long and his hair had turned gray. Most began as blood claws, fierce and impatient, eager to prove themselves. They rushed forward in howling packs, seeking glory at the front lines. If they endured and learned restraint, they became gray hunters, seasoned by war and ready to give their lives for honor. With time, when age settled upon them and discipline had fully taken root, some were welcomed into the Long Fangs, steady veterans entrusted with the heavy weapons of their great company. Those who showed exceptional valor or rare martial strength might be raised to the Wolf Guard. These warriors led younger packs into battle or stood as a chosen retinue beside a Wolf Lord. Armed with the finest war gear of the Armoury, they were formidable in close combat, and few could withstand them. Their doctrine was never as rigid as that of other chapters. The younger warriors often cast aside strict formation, charging headlong at the foe with voices raised in wild cries. This habit tested the patience of allied commanders across the ages, even Lord Solar Maharius, who recorded his displeasure in the Tactica Ultimatum. Yet, beneath the howls there was purpose. The Space Wolves cherished the closeness of battle above all things, and though their methods seemed unruly, they had fought this way upon countless battlefields since their earliest days. They had little desire to alter their ways merely to satisfy the expectations of the administratum. When Leman Russ first took command of the 6th Legion, it followed the Principia Bellicosa with rigid care. Discipline was enforced without hesitation, and when disorder crept into the ranks, punishment could be severe, even unto execution in the field. The warriors clung to structure as an anchor against their own growing restlessness. Everything shifted when Russ brought the spirit of Fenris into the Legion. The fury in their hearts was no longer something to be suppressed through cold regulation. It was shaped instead by will. Savagery found direction, and in battle that force became cleansing rather than corrosive. Under the Wolf King, the Legion was unified. Gradually, their manner of war changed. The generalist approach once demanded by imperial doctrine gave way to something more direct and instinctive. They sought to close with the enemy, to feel the clash at arm's reach. Shock infantry became the heart of their strength, while heavier elements remained present, but set apart in specialized roles. They were conditioned to disregard danger almost entirely. In the thick of combat, they advanced with speed and ferocity, overwhelming their foes through close combat and brutal short-ranged fire. Over time, this preference reshaped their formations. Unique units such as the Grey Slayers and the Bloodied Claws rose to prominence, and by the Battle of Prospero, they formed the core of the Legion's infantry. By the later years of the Great Crusade, the structure of the Space Wolves had diverged sharply from the strict vision of the Principia Bellicosa. At the highest level, the Legion was divided into 13 great companies, each theoretically 10,000 strong, though losses ensured that number remained an ideal rather than a constant reality. Beneath that level, organization became fluid. Warbands formed around the authority of Jarls and Fegans. leaders known as Wolf Lords or Claw Leaders, regardless of their formal standing within the wider Imperium. These forces were autonomous and heavily infantry-focused, sometimes lacking the specialized units seen in other legions. To outsiders, the hierarchy could seem obscure, especially when several jarls stood within a single great company. Siegecraft and prolonged bombardment held little appeal for them. Such methods did not align with their philosophy or temperament. What remained of those specialized functions lingered under the care of the Iron Priests and the Primarchs' household, kept in reserve rather than standing at the forefront of battle. Within the Legion, the priests of Fenris held a unique place. They carried out roles that in other legions would belong to separate bodies, such as Apothecarion, Librarius, or Armorium. Wrapped in ritual and secrecy, they tended gene seed, preserved war gear, guarded hidden histories, and kept the Legion's deeper truths. Senior figures among them, whether Priest of Iron, Caster of Runes, or Speaker of the Dead, sat upon the Einar Jarl, the council that advised Leman Russ. Every Jarl and Fang had a place there, and every warrior could speak if he wished. Terran-born Astartes and those raised upon Fenris stood together as brothers. Fenris Bloods and Fenris Hunters kept their own squads, yet also led formations of Terran warriors. The Officer Corps and the Wolf Guard drew from both origins without division. Yet within all of them lay the shadow of the Wulfen. This curse could emerge during transformation into a space marine, or later in life. Those afflicted became savage, overtaken by a rage akin to the old legends of lycanthropy. Their forms grew more bestial, their fangs lengthened, and their restraint faded. All who succumbed were gathered into the 13th Great Company, where they fought in feral Wulfen packs, bound together by the same dark inheritance. In the closing years of the Great Crusade, during the year 4 of the 31st millennium, the 6th Legion gathered its strength for the Prospero campaign. Roughly 73,200 Space Marines stood ready, including those recalled from Fenris and Beta Garmin. The first Great Company, known as the Breakers of Rings, was led by Jarl Gunnar Gunhiel, called Lord Gun. About 3,000 warriors formed its ranks, many clad in Terminator armor as Varagir Huskarls, serving as both bodyguard and command corps. The second, the Threadcutters, numbered close to 800 under an unnamed Jarl with veteran infantry and a dreadnought contingent of about 60 armors. The third, the Eagle's Keepers under Jarl Ugvi Helmsrod, stood nearly 9,800 strong, heavy with close assault troops and a notable share of initiates. The 4th Great Company, the Bloodworm's Masters, commanded by Jarl Heval Redblade, brought heavy infantry and self-propelled artillery, including many Breacher and Bloodied Claw formations. The 5th, the Blood Ice Storm under Jarl Emlodi Skarsen, held 10,000 warriors, a mixed force resupplying upon Fenris. The 7th, the White Flames Wielders, counted 5,200, largely of the Black Coal and Destroyer units. The 8th, the Slaughter Fire Heralds, moved with reconnaissance and infiltration units, known for Pale Hunter formations. The 9th, the Serpents of the Battle Moon, led by Jarl Sturgard Yoriksson, fielded heavy weapon support, including rapier platforms. The 11th, the Sea Flames Bearers under Jarl Verald Hellstone, held many veteran Terran recruits. The 12th, the Shield Gnawers commanded by Jarl Oki, successor to Lofing Yarmag, combined close assault infantry with ground vehicles. The 13th, the Corpse Renders under Jarl Yoren Bloodhowl, was smaller at 600 strong, formed for pursuit and light assault. The 6th and 10th Great Companies did not join the Prospero campaign, and their numbers remain unknown. Among the Legion's more unusual roles was the Consul Obsequiari, a battlefield overseer entrusted with the power of life and death over his brothers. Before Russ taught mastery over their impulses, these officers removed those deemed too unstable. Clad in plain charcoal armor, marked only by squad symbol and Raptor Imperialis, they carried out a grim duty. In time, their role faded as the Legion changed. Closest to the Wolf King stood the Faragir Wolf Guard. Chosen from his own great company, they bore great belts upon their armor and set aside personal ambition to serve at his side. When unleashed, their charge struck like a thunderbolt, armor and blade crashing into the foe with terrible force. The priests of Fenris existed as interwoven orders tending body, spirit, and machine. They guarded lore and secrets beneath ritual forms. The Speaker of the Dead oversaw gene seed implantation, and the well-being of warriors carried healing tinctures into battle and held Garm blood vials whose poison could bring swift death when needed. They preserved sagas and judged deeds so that honor endured. The casters of runes walked the path of psychers apart from other librarians. They shielded their minds through deliberate control and rune-bound armor, drawing upon power carefully and defending the Legion from imperial threats. The priests of iron stood watch over armories and war engines. Beneath outward tech mysticism, they maintained self-sufficiency and guarded treasured weapon patterns gifted by Terra or crafted by their own hands. After reunification with their Primarch, the Grey Slayer packs became a visible sign of change. No longer rigid cogs in a larger machine, they moved as compact warbands, fluid and independent. They were expected to face challenges alone and close with the enemy on their own terms. The Deathsworn, called the Black Gull, carried the darker burden of the Legion. Those whose souls had been hollowed by endless war were guided by the cult of Morkai and cast upon the enemy with controlled fury. Marked by wolf skull helms, they embodied death within the Legion. Within the 7th Great Company, the Lan Devan held siege assets and sanctioned weapons, such as Phosphex. Their craft was destruction laid bare. Watch packs were sent through the warp to stand beside other Primarchs as bodyguards and executioners if required. Some met grim ends among traitor legions. One reached Alfarius and slew a false Primarch before being hunted down. Another was lost with Sanguinius at Cygnus Prime. A third shed blood on McGrog to defend Robut Gillymane's adoptive mother against Conrad Kersey. Many fates remain unknown, yet their mission reflected deep loyalty. The Legion's dreadnought cadres were called the Sons of Emir. Among them, the Rimthursar were known for bitter hatred, while the Eldersar, also called the Sons of Muspel and Destroyers of Worlds, were the most violent, often awakened only for utter annihilation. They were never subtle weapons. Armored and airborne assets were maintained within each great company, ready to be assigned as battle demanded. During the assault upon Tizca in the Raising of Prospero, nearly all such forces were committed. Their firepower drove the advance. Aircraft moved in constant support of claws and warpacks, most often Storm Eagle and Fire Raptor gunships, swift enough to match the pace and strong enough to endure heavy fire. Strong points that resisted were reduced to ruins beneath relentless attack. When craft withdrew to low orbit to rearm, rotating wings ensured pressure did not falter. These wings supported ground assaults closely, rather than pursuing indiscriminate bombardment. When the order came to censure the Thousand Suns, the Space Wolves mustered roughly 2/3 of their strength. Around 75,000 Astartes were committed to Prospero, while perhaps 20 to 25,000 remained scattered across distant fleets or guarding Fenris. In earlier decades, the Legion had stood near 130,000 strong, but relentless campaigning had reduced its numbers. Their fleet numbered about 60 Capital Claws vessels with many more smaller craft. They favored heavily armed frigates suited for independent operations. At their head sailed the Hroth Miguel, a vast Gloriana-class battleship, capable not only of command but of independent planet kill operations, a fitting flagship for the Wolf King's war. The Space Wolves have always stood apart, even among the warriors of the Imperium. They resist central command and prefer to gather as packs rather than as the squads laid out in the Codex Astartes. The teachings of Rabut Gilliman are not ignored entirely, yet they are accepted only when they suit the wolves' own way of war. There is a stubborn pride in them, a fierce independence that does not bend easily. Other Imperial forces sometimes see them as ill-disciplined, though none would question their courage. It is often said with a quiet smile that if one wishes a space wolf to act, the surest path is to forbid him from doing so. In this defiance there is tradition, and in that tradition, strength. Instead of squads defined by strict doctrine, the Space Wolves gather into packs, warriors who have fought side by side and learned one another's scent and sound as surely as sight. They hunt as the Fenrisian wolves do, trusting in sharpened senses of smell and hearing, working together to track foes across battlefield smoke and shadow. Among them are Bloodclaws, newly inducted Astartes who burn with restless fury. Still wrestling with the spirit of the Wulfen within, they surge forward in howling assaults, eager to win glory with chainsword and bolt pistol in hand. Those who endure and temper their fire in battle rise in time to become Grey Hunters, seasoned and steady, forming the strong heart of their great company. From the ranks of these young warriors come the Swift Claws, mounted upon bikes and land speeders, striking fast and hard. They are unleashed not for quiet reconnaissance, but for demolition and close assault, racing toward danger with reckless joy. Some crave this role so deeply that they demand to remain within it, drawn to the thunder of engines and the chance to wreak havoc. Others are gathered as skyclaws entrusted with jump packs that carry them in soaring arcs across the battlefield. They are the most headstrong of the young, fearless, and impetuous, charging into the thick of combat from above. Their elders may shake their heads at their pranks and contests of strength and drink, yet they remember their own youth and seldom judge too harshly. In battle, these skyclaws descend with wild delight, determined to prove themselves worthy in the eyes of their pack. The long fangs are ancient warriors whose age shows in lengthened fangs and graying hair. Their sagas stretch across long centuries of war, and their calm presence steadies even the fiercest storm of battle. Entrusted with heavy weapons, they hold the line when others falter, their wisdom as formidable as their firepower. From feats of courage and skill rise the Wolf Guard, warriors elevated not by age alone, but by merit earned in the crucible of combat. They stand beside their wolf lords, clad in the finest armor and sometimes in revered Terminator suits. It is from their ranks that new wolf lords are chosen when the time comes. Among these elite are those who ride the towering thunderwolves, great Fenrisian beasts as tall as a Terran rhinoceros. Official records deny their existence, yet they thunder across battlefields as living legends, some augmented with adamantium jaws and bionic limbs. To tame such a creature is itself a trial, a test of worthiness for those who seek to join the Wolf Guard. Not all walk within the comfort of a pack. Wolf scouts move in solitude, veterans who prefer the quiet tundra and the work of reconnaissance and disruption. And when a pack is shattered, leaving only one survivor who has not yet earned a place among the Wolf Guard, that warrior may become a lone wolf. Wrapped in vengeance and honor, he seeks either redemption through victory or a worthy death beside the memory of his fallen brothers. Far from Fenris, the Wolfblades stand watch upon Terra, guarding House Belisarius. Bound by an ancient pact said to reach back to the friendship of Leman Russ and Alexander Belisarius, they protect the Celestarch and train his forces. In return, navigators of that house guide the chapter's ships through the Immaterium, a bond of trust that has endured across the ages. When the Primarchs warriors were offered to the chapter, there was unease. They were not Fenrisian born, nor had they faced the test of Morkai. Some feared the influence of Robut Gilliman, yet the great wolf counseled obedience for the moment. In time, Primarchs packs came to mirror their firstborn brethren, rising from blood claws to grey hunters and beyond, proving themselves in the same fires of war. Intercessors stand as the steady core of many hunts, calm and watchful as they bring down their prey at range. Though they prefer measured volleys from bold rifles, they will close without hesitation when needed, bolt pistol and grenades ready at hand. Rivalry stirs between them and grey hunters, friendly contests that sharpen skill both in battle and at feast. Yet when the moment demands sacrifice, they will form an unyielding firing line, buying time for wolf priests to tend the fallen. Heavy intercessors encased in thick Gravis armor anchor the line where ground must not be lost. Their heavy bolt rifles speak strike with relentless force, and they remain immovable against counterattack. Assault intercessors, by contrast, surge forward with heavy bolt pistols blazing, chainswords rising and falling in the savage rhythm common to the sons of Russ. Veteran intercessors carry the honor of long fangs within their Primarchs forms, their sagas already lengthening. Some have crossed the Rubicon Primaris, others were forged during the Ultima founding, yet all now fight among the chapter's most seasoned warriors, with the promise of Wolfguard status awaiting those who endure. Inceptors move like falling stars, bounding across broken terrain or descending from low orbit with jump packs roaring. Armed with assault bolters or plasma exterminators, they tear through armored ranks and leave ruin in their wake. Many seek the test of Morkai, drinking deep afterward as sagas are recited in the firelit halls. Aggressors advance with booming laughter, seeking the thickest fighting. Whether bearing bolt-storm gauntlets or flame-storm gauntlets that wash the foe in burning promethium, they strike not for reckless glory, but to shatter enemy lines so others may exploit the breach. Hellblasters cradle plasma incinerators crafted by Belisarius Gaul, weapons whose machine spirits are believed to share in their saga. In the heat of combat, they may call upon that spirit, even knowing that the unleashed fury might claim them as well. Incursors fight in close quarters, storming positions with Oculus bolt carbines guided by advanced visors and divinator auspexes, moving swiftly to cripple power sources and communication hubs before the foe can recover. Outriders race ahead on raider-pattern combat bikes, engines growling as they guard flanks and hunt infiltrators. Their machines are heavily armored and responsive, demanding mastery over their bellicose spirits. When rider and bike moved as one, swift victory often follows. Infiltrators emerge through choking smog, their Phobos armor blending with shadow. Smoke grenades veil their approach, while marksmen bolt carbines strike with disciplined precision. The Omni Scrambler hums at their backs, severing enemy communications and scattering signals into silence. Reavers descend by groff chutes, gliding without the roar that would betray them. Terror is their weapon, and they wield it with cold efficiency. Though distant in manner from their brethren, they are relentless in battle, fulfilling their duty without hesitation. Eliminators haunt the edges of the field, patient marksmen who pick out vital targets and bring them down with quiet finality. Suppressors leap into combat and unleash accelerator autocannons whose armor-piercing shells force even the boldest enemy to seek cover. Eradicators stride forward in Gravis armor, Melta weapons blazing at close range, while Desolation packs remain at distance, sending superfrag or supercrack rockets across the battlefield. Beneath their launchers, the Castellan systems scattered guided bomblets upon hidden foes. Infernus packs close the gap with pyroblasters roaring, torrents of flame consuming swarming Xenos and reckless attackers alike, leaving only scorched earth in their wake. The Great Wolf stands as steward of the chapter, awaiting the return of Leman Russ. Logan Grimnar has borne this mantle for over 8 centuries, guiding his warriors with seasoned resolve. Beneath him serve the Wolf Lords, each ruling a great company as warrior kings advised by trusted elders. Among them are figures such as Ragnar Blackmane, who rose young to his rank. Iron priests tend the chapter's war gear, trained upon Mars yet bound to Fenris, while wolf priests shepherd both body and spirit, choosing aspirants and guarding the gene seed. Rune priests, though wary of sorcery, wield psychic might in their own way, bearing runic weapons rather than the trappings of librarians. Battle leaders mentor younger warriors and sometimes command entire strike forces, chosen often from the Wolf Guard. Pack leaders guide their 10 battle brothers with steady authority. Deep beneath the Fang, venerable dreadnoughts sleep until called to war, ancient heroes whose wisdom is sought in gruff moments. Some have fought for 1,000 years, their voices carrying the weight of long memory. Contemptor pattern dreadnoughts, marked by troubled legend, are respected yet regarded with caution. Redemptor dreadnoughts, crafted by Belisarius' call, stride into battle with heavy Gatling cannon and macroplasma incinerator blazing. Within certain dreadnoughts, the curse of the Wulfen stirs, twisting even the interred warrior's form and mind. These Wulfen dreadnoughts abandon ranged arms for the crushing bite of a Fenrisian great axe or the rending sweep of a great wolf claw. Some bear a blizzard shield, its force field flaring as they hurl themselves into close slaughter. Beyond the Astartes stand the bondsmen who keep the chapter alive. Thralls and grooms labor in countless tasks, while carrels and their huscarls defend ships and holdings. Riven masters command armed forces of girls, and shipmasters guide void vessels when Astartes are absent. Star speakers carry astropathic messages, and navigators of House Belisarius steer the fleet through the Emiterium, guarded in turn by wolf blades upon Terra. The Space Wolves are divided into 12 great companies, each a self-contained brotherhood dwelling within the Fang. A 13th is remembered in honor of those lost in distant wars. Every great company follows its wolf lord, taking his chosen symbol and even his name, so that heraldry shifts with the passing of leaders and ages. When a wolf lord falls, his wolf guard choose a successor, and the company is reborn beneath a new totem drawn from Fenrisian legend. Some symbols echo through time, such as that of Drekken the Thunderwolf. The great wolf himself commands his own company, host to priests and auxiliaries, and when he dies, the chapter gathers to cast rune stones into the dragon's skull. Should 2 candidates stand equal, they duel upon the feasting table, and the victor rises as steward beneath the sign of the wolf that stalks between stars. The champions of Fenris, once known as the Night Runners under Logan Grimnar, form the largest of the companies. Among them stand the King's Guard in tactical dreadnought armor, the Shield Brothers with thunder hammers and storm shields led by Ariak Rockfist, and the Void Claws wielding paired wolf claws, all sworn to guard their lord. The order of battle of the Space Wolves does not follow the strict pattern of other chapters. Instead of fixed companies of equal strength, 12 great companies gather warriors of varying number within the Fang on Fenris. Each answers to its wolf lord, and each is a complete army in itself, with ships, forges, and war gear ready for war. Packs rise and diminish over time. Bloodclaw packs may begin with many young warriors, yet losses shape them as they become Grey Hunters, and later Long Fangs whose numbers are few, but whose experience is vast. Reinforcements do not refill a pack, and so age is written in their size. The company of the Great Wolf stands among them, including priests, scouts, and dreadnoughts. Vehicles are drawn from a shared pool as needed. In ancient days, this company was considered separate, yet now it is counted among the 12. The champions of Fenris are fiercely devoted to Logon Grimnar, each warrior striving for his favor. He believes that a battle may turn upon a few heroes at the right moment, and his company carries that belief into every war zone, steady and unyielding. For some space wolves, service within the Deathwatch, the chamber militant of the Ordo Xenos, becomes a rare chance to add new lines to the saga of their life. In those distant campaigns, they travel to places never imagined, where enemies rise from the dark edges of nightmare. Many of these foes are unknown to the Imperium, and unknown even to the warrior's own chapter, so that a single space wolf may be the only one of his kind ever to face such a thing. It is a tale worth carrying home, to be spoken in the mead halls of the Fang when he returns to Fenris. Yet it takes a particular kind of battle brother to leave the close-knit packs of Fenris and stand among strangers drawn from other Astartes chapters. Sometimes 2 or more space wolves join a watch fortress together, so each may witness the deeds of the other, and one may carry the story home should his brother fall. Though they are gregarious by nature and rough in their ways, they soon treat the warriors of their kill team as brothers, as though they too were born among the savage tribes of Fenris. Most within the Deathwatch come to accept this unruly spirit. Some even learn to enjoy the taste of Fenrisian ale that is always brought along. When space wolves are present in a watch fortress, the quiet halls often echo with loud feasting on the eve of battle, with bold oaths and savage boasts carried through cloisters that are usually silent. A few may find the noise disruptive, but many watch commanders learn to let it pass, for kill teams that include space wolves often become among the most effective and closely bound warriors the Deathwatch can send into the void. The Space Wolves, a chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, have long stood as an independent force, fiercely protective of their autonomy. Their leader, Logan Grimnar, is known for his boldness in defending his chapter. He will not hesitate to go to war with other imperial institutions when he believes it is justified. Both the Adeptus Ministorum and the Inquisition have tried to bring the Space Wolves into line, but with little success. This defiant attitude has earned the chapter many enemies, but it has also gathered allies who respect their strength and leadership. During the 13th Black Crusade, Grimnar's reputation as a legendary figure grew even stronger. He stood beside leaders like Ursarkar Creed, commanding the Imperium's vast armies against the forces of chaos. While Cadia ultimately fell, the presence of the Space Wolves ensured that the battle was not lost entirely. In the early days of the Great Crusade, the Space Wolves were among the most resistant to the Remembrancers. These historians, tasked with recording the deeds of the Imperium, were not welcomed by the Sons of Russ. The Space Wolves preferred oral traditions, relying on the skelds of their great companies to memorize the sagas of each warrior. Over time, they began to use more modern methods of record keeping, like archives and data crystals, to ensure their wisdom would endure. One of the few outsiders ever granted access to the Space Wolves was the Imperial Conservator, Gaspar Ansbach Hauser. Known also as Emmet ibn Rusta, he was allowed to witness the end of the Great Crusade and the beginning of the Horus Heresy. However, Hauser was later revealed to be tainted by the forces of chaos, and the Space Wolves placed him in stasis for both his own protection and theirs. While it is rare for outsiders to be allowed entry to the Fang in the 41st millennium, some, such as trusted inquisitors, have occasionally been permitted to visit. These visitors are few and far between, as the Space Wolves remain a mostly insular chapter. The Space Wolves maintain a historic alliance with House Belisarius, a powerful navigator family. In exchange for the service of 24 Space Wolves as bodyguards, the House provides the chapter with 24 of their best navigators. These bodyguards, known as the Wolfblade, are often seen as exiles, though many distinguished warriors, including Logan Grimnar and Wolflord Ragnar Blackmane, have served in this role. Their service to the House offers them invaluable experience with Imperial politics, as House Belisarius operates from Terra itself. One of the most notable figures to engage with the Space Wolves was Lord Solar Maharius. His Macarian crusade needed the aid of the Adeptus Astartes, and Macarius knew that the Space Wolves, with their powerful and direct approach, would be the ideal allies. He forged an alliance with the chapter, offering the legendary Fist of Russ to secure their help. With the Space Wolves under his command, Maharius led his forces in the cleansing of Procrustes, where they fought alongside his own Lion Guard against a dark Eldar infestation. However, relations with the Inquisition have often been strained. The Space Wolves have always resisted their scrutiny and control. In the aftermath of the First War for Armageddon, tensions reached a boiling point. The Inquisition, led by Inquisitor Lord Gisnaros, planned to sterilize the populace of Armageddon and send them to forced labor camps. Furious, the Space Wolves clashed with the Inquisition, and the event became known as the Months of Shame. Thousands of Imperial outposts and installations were destroyed, but despite the losses, the Inquisition failed to achieve their goals. The Space Wolves proved their resilience, defending the survivors of Armageddon and ensuring their escape. The matter was not settled easily. Lord Gisnaros was killed, along with many of his Grey Knights. The Space Wolves, having driven the Inquisition from Fenris, remained the only chapter not aligned with them, knowing the secrets of the Grey Knights and maintaining a policy of firing upon any Inquisition vessel that dares to enter their system. There are some within the Holy Ordos who would like to see the Space Wolves subdued, but it remains unclear whether the Grey Knights hold any lasting grudges for their losses. What is certain is that Logan Grimnar stands as one of the few who have ever defeated a Grand Master of the Grey Knights. After the battle for Alaric Prime, Grimnar knew that the Inquisition would come seeking to purge the witnesses to the demonic incursion. He understood that they might even resort to exterminatus to destroy the world the Imperium had fought so hard to protect. But Grimnar was determined that this would not happen. He declared Alaric Prime a war gelt, placing the planet under the protection of the Space Wolves. To enforce this, Grimnar left a permanent detachment of 3 chapter vessels in orbit and made sure the planet's defenses were ready to blast any Inquisition vessel that approached. Soon after, an Inquisition ship carrying cyclonic warheads attempted to enter orbit to enact exterminatus, but the Space Wolves intercepted the vessel and sent it fleeing back to Baka. Though the immediate threat had been repelled, Grimnar knew that the matter was far from settled. The fate of the redeployed Cadian survivors remained uncertain, and it was likely that many would eventually fall victim to the Inquisition's purge. But for now, Alaric Prime still stood, protected by the will of the Space Wolves. There is an old legend among the Space Wolves, once spoken of with quiet reverence. It tells of the company that would come to be known as the 13th, sent by their Primarch, Leman Russ, to chase the 1,000 Suns into the warp after Prospero burned at the dawn of the Horus Heresy. After that command, they vanished from Imperial record. A single black stone in the Grand Annulus stands in their memory, a silent mark among the names of the great companies. Not long before the heresy erupted, Magnus the Red, Primarch of the 1,000 Suns, cast his astral form through the warp and the hidden paths of the Eldar webway. He sought to reach Terra and warn the Emperor of Mankind that Horus had turned to chaos. Yet, Magnus had already been touched by Sinch, and his warning carried ruin with it. His intrusion shattered the psychic wards around Terra and the Golden Throne. The cult members on Prospero who aided his spell died in that instant. On Terra, thousands connected to the Webway project were driven mad by the surge of power, and those working upon the Golden Throne were slain. Portals tore open, and through them daemons and other warp entities found a path toward the homeworld of mankind. Magnus had defied the ban on sorcery proclaimed at the Council of Nicaea during the Great Crusade. The Emperor would not believe that Horus had betrayed him, and in his grief and anger he judged Magnus the true offender. Leman Russ and his Space Wolves were ordered to bring Magnus to Terra for judgment. Horus whispered otherwise, convincing Russ that death on Prospero would better serve the Emperor's will. So the Space Wolves descended upon Prospero, accompanied by the Sisters of Silence and the Adeptus Custodes. The assault moved swiftly, for Magnus at first refused to fight, believing his legion and world deserved to fall because he had become a pawn of the Chaos Gods. When the battle reached its final moments, the 1,000 Suns were reduced to about 1,000 warriors, while their foes numbered roughly 3,000 combined. The survivors took shelter within the Pyramid of Photep, the sanctum of Magnus, while outside their Primarch faced Russ. Their duel was fierce and close. Magnus struck first, driving his fist into Russ's chest and shattering the icy breastplate. Shards of ceramite pierced the Wolf King's heart. Russ answered by snapping Magnus's arm, and Ahriman heard it break like 1,000 fragments. From Magnus's other arm, a blade of pure psychic energy emerged and was thrust through Russ's shattered armor, bursting from his back as he roared in pain. They fought high above the causeway, wreathed in fire and lightning. A flare of black light erupted, and Russ cried out. His blade lashed blindly and struck Magnus in his eye. In that instant, the storm of light vanished. Silence spread outward. Both Primarchs stood once more at their natural height, Magnus clutching his ruined eye while regenerative energies crackled through his broken arm. Though wounded and bleeding, Russ seized the moment. He surged forward, lifted Magnus high, and broke him across his knee. The sound of the Crimson King's spine breaking echoed through the hearts of the 1,000 Suns. With his last strength, Magnus turned his gaze to Ahriman. Before Russ's blade could fall, Magnus whispered words that unmade him. His body dissolved and power flooded into Ahriman. Then the 1,000 Suns, each bearing a crystal from Prospero's refracting caves, vanished into the warp at Ahriman's command, borne to the planet of the sorcerers prepared by Sinch. In the aftermath, Leman Russ gave a final order. The 13th Company would enter the Eye of Terror and pursue the 1,000 Suns until their threat was ended. For more than 10,000 years, they were gone. Only at the beginning of Abaddon, the Despoiler's 13th Black Crusade, did they reappear in real space, still driven by the oath set upon them, still filled with a deep hatred of sorcery and psychic power. Time within the Eye of Terror changed them, without reinforcements or new recruits, without heavy equipment and unable to train specialists as other companies might. They became something apart even from their kin. The core of each warband is formed by the Grey Slayers, warriors akin to Grey Hunters yet hardened far beyond them. There are no blood claws among them, for everyone has long since risen in rank. Their assault brethren are the Stormclaws, seasoned and fierce, still carrying a sharper edge of aggression than the Grey Slayers. To move through the warp, they relied upon their roan priests. The Eye of Terror awakened hidden psychic gifts in many of the original Astartes, and so the company never lacked those able to guide them through that endless storm. Among all the tales of the lost companies, none is spoken of more often than the 13th Great Company. In the dark days of the Horus Heresy, they vanished into the warp while hunting the retreating traitor legions. Beyond the sight of the Imperium, they continued that pursuit within the Eye of Terror for 10 millennia, returning only during Abaddon, the Despoiler's 13th Black Crusade, still intent upon the Oathbreakers. A great company may be lost in different ways. The most obvious is simple damnation, when their vessels are caught in a raging warp storm or dragged away by predators of the Empyrean. Bodies and souls can be trapped there forever. At times, those ships surface again after long ages, drifting as ghost ships or fused into a space hulk, old reminders of what warp travel can cost. Loss can also come by choice. There are moments when a great company finds itself so distant that returning to the Fang would take years, perhaps even decades, and a warp storm may seal off any path home. Some wolf lords decide not to turn back at all. They campaign on until the last warrior falls. Others break from their great wolf over deep disagreement and depart with those loyal to them, choosing to wage war against the Emperor's enemies in their own way until their strength is spent. There is a darker path as well, a company may turn from Russ and the All-Father and become pirates, renegades, or traitors. The worst embrace the corruption of chaos. No chapter speaks easily of such falls, though it happens to them all. Only the Grey Knights of the Ordo Malleus claim never to have lost an Astartes to chaos. Within the Space Wolves, traitors are despised, and no price is too high to destroy them and restore honor. One grim example came after the Bought-Up War at the Battle of Perensis. The strike cruiser Wolf of Fenris was captured by the Red Corsairs. During the fighting, some of the crew were swayed and turned against their brothers. These Oathbreakers aided the Chaos Space Marines in seizing their own vessel. As reward, they were given command of the Wolf of Fenris and have sailed beneath Huron Blackheart's banner ever since. In more recent days, a small pack of Grey Hunters from the Blackmane Great Company chose another road. They stole a Ryza pattern sister runner named the Lopnir and set out alone. 6 battle brothers moving on whispered leads about a hidden organization within the greater Adeptus of the Imperium known only as the Fulcrum. They believe it seeks the destruction of the Space Wolves chapter. If they succeed, they may return to the Fang in triumph, their sagas sung with pride. If they fail, they will die as Oathbreakers, and their names will fade from the chapter's memory. Yet such bold choices are not rare among the sons of Russ. The urge to ride ahead, to stake life and honor upon a single path, has long lived within those who bear the Canis Helix. Within the gene seed of the Space Wolves lies a flaw, hidden deep in the Canis Helix of Leman Russ. Each aspirant drinks from the cup of Wulfen to begin the long change into a full Astartes, and within that ritual the flaw is carried forward. As the years pass, many take on subtle signs of it. Their canine teeth grow larger. Their eyes turn yellow. Hair thickens in strange and abnormal ways. For some, the change does not remain subtle. In the heat of battle, when blood runs hot and fury rises, the mutation may surge beyond control. They grow elongated fangs and bestial claws, and their brothers say they bear the mark of the Wulfen. Only when they are exposed to great tides of warp energy does the transformation complete itself, and they become fully wolf-like humanoid mutants known as the Wulfen. This happened to the 13th Company in the Eye of Terror. Yet this is not a gift of chaos. It is a defense, awakened when their altered blood is flooded by the power of that dark realm. These bestial forms resist corruption more strongly than many standard Astartes, for diminished sentience offers less to tempt and twist. Those who become Wulfen resemble the werewolves of ancient myth, much as some of the blood angels burdened by the red thirst mirror the legends of vampires. When the change is complete, many flee into the wild hinterlands of Fenris. Others are confined or are sorrowfully put down by the very brothers who once fought beside them. The mark often appears while they are still neophytes, and so their training includes trials meant to reveal who among them will suffer the change. At times, the chapter unleashes individual Wulfen upon the battlefield. The 13th Company, however, marches in entire packs of them. Every warrior of that lost company carries the flaw, and in each it rises at its own hour. Trapped within the warp for 10 millennia, they were steeped in the rampant influence of chaos, and so the mutation took hold with unusual strength. Still, that same flaw became their shield. It is believed by members of the Adeptus Mechanicus that the 13th Company endured 10,000 years within the Eye of Terror without corruption, precisely because they all bore this mark. In this strange way, what seems a curse has long stood as their protection. The armories of the Space Wolves are ancient, holding weapons and artifacts that stretch back to the time of the Great Crusade, with some even older than the Imperium itself. Among these treasures are Hellfrost weapons, frost swords, and frost axes, along with belts of Russ and runic armor items, known only to the sons of Leman Russ. These relics are rare, even amongst other chapters of the Adeptus Astartes. The Space Wolves also possess ancient and nearly forgotten patterns of war gear, including super heavy tanks from the era of the Great Crusade, weapons like the mighty Fellblade and Glaive tanks, and rare battle machines such as the Contemptor pattern dreadnoughts and Fire Raptor gunships still find their place in the arsenal of the Space Wolves, even as they are unknown to most of the Imperium. Once, the Space Wolves even fielded Leman Russ Executioner's modified war machines crafted for Astartes crews, created to serve their unique needs. But the Space Wolves' arsenal holds not just these incredible relics, but also munitions that were once common but are now rare. Blind grenades, plasma grenades, photon flash grenades, melta missiles, anti-plant missiles, and plasma missiles. These weapons have fallen out of use over time. Perhaps they became too difficult or expensive to produce, or their tactical value faded. Still, enemies who face the Space Wolves must always remain cautious. They can never truly know what weapons the sons of Russ might call upon in battle. The relics held by the Space Wolves are beyond measure. These artifacts, forged in ancient times, are carefully maintained and stored within the unbreakable armories of the Fang. Among them is the Anvil Shield, a relic storm shield carried by Ariak Rockfist, the personal champion of Great Wolf Logan Grimnar. This shield, made of obstinite and adamantium, is as much a weapon as a form of protection, crushing the skulls of countless foes. Then there is the armor of Asphalt Stormwrack, a suit of Terminator armor given to Logan Grimnar when he was a wolf guard in the Great Company of Asphalt Stormwrack. This ancient relic, crafted from the dark age of technology, carries hidden nanotechnologies that repair damage and heal wounds caused by plasma or blades. This suit has been passed down, always worn by those worthy to protect Grimnar. The armor of Elevagor, the warplate of Russ, is another relic of great power. This unique artificer armor, found by the Space Wolves after the Second Great Hunt, is believed to be the very armor once worn by the Primarch himself. Its freezing aura leaves a chilling presence around it, and those who wear it feel the power of Russ's legacy. The axe Morkai is a mighty weapon carried into battle by Logan Grimnar, a battle trophy taken from a Chaos champion. After claiming it, Grimnar had the axe reforged in the likeness of Morkai, the twin-headed wolf god of Fenris, guardian of the afterlife. The Axe of Hellwinter, Russ's favorite axe, is another weapon of legend. Crafted with kraken teeth from a beast slain by Russ, This frost axe carries the power to split the armor of a battle tank. Each great company possesses a belt of Russ, a relic girdle imbued with graphitic force fields forged after the disappearance of Russ himself. The belts provide vital protection to the warriors who wear them. Among the relics of the Space Wolves are the mighty Frost Blades, weapons that carve through the toughest armor with ease. Frost blades can take many forms: chain swords, chain axes, and other Imperial melee weapons. Each is a masterwork, rare and prestigious, forged by the Space Wolves' Iron Priests. The unique power fields of these weapons shine with a blue light, giving them an unmistakable appearance of deadly ice. Wolf Lord Sven Bloodhowl wields the great Frost Axe Frostclaw, an enormous weapon that he carries with one hand, a testament to both his strength and the weapon's perfect balance. It is said that no armor can resist the edge of this Frost Axe. Frost Fang, another powerful weapon crafted by Iron Priest Fergus Forgrim, is a chainsword fashioned from a rare metal. Its secret construction technique has long been lost to the chapter. Frost Fury, a storm bolter rechambered to fire Hellfrost warheads, is another of the chapter's treasures. When fired, the glittering rounds freeze their targets upon impact, leaving them shattered by a deadly Glimmerfrost blast. The mighty Glacius, a frost axe wielded by Wolf Lord Harold Deathwolf, is another relic. Carved from a single ice blue crystal, its blade is fearsomely sharp and cold enough to freeze the very air around it. Each relic weapon tells the tale of a warrior's valor and the chapter's storied past. Weapons such as these serve not only as tools of war, but as reminders of the legacy of the Space Wolves and the trials they have faced through countless battles. The Helm of Turfast, crafted from ancient archaeotech, grants its wearer a momentary glimpse into the past, present, and future. This temporal awareness allows the bearer to anticipate the movements of their enemies with uncanny precision. Old Beater, a rune blade, was once wielded by the blade master Valdir Skullhewer. This relic was shattered during the battle for Ras Shaket when the Chaos Lord Thorslax the Blighted killed its master. Krakenbone's sword, made from the bones of the legendary Kraken of Fenris, was once wielded by Logan Grimnir. The sword was crafted from a shard of bone recovered by Grimnir during his youth. It was later reforged into a frost blade by Ariak Rockfist and presented back to Grimnar as a symbol of the chapter's strength. The Wormclaw, a frost blade of exceptional craftsmanship, is the weapon of Wolf Lord Grom Dragongaz. This mighty axe, made even deadlier by its wielder's skill, is as sharp as the talons of the great ice worm Witherwing. Other relics of equal renown include the Ma Eker, a thunderhammer crafted by rune priest Fusund the Golden, and the Magnir runes, which allow rune priests to peer into the future, a gift from the deceased rune priest Magnir. Runic totems are powerful relics crafted by the rune priests of the chapter. These totems allow the bearer to call upon the power of Fenris's mythic beasts, lending them the strength and ferocity of the creatures they represent. The wolf claws are a powerful variant of the lightning claws, heavily armored gauntlets with razor-sharp talons. Used most effectively in pairs, they are designed to mirror the talons of the wolf, allowing the wielder to strike with deadly precision. The Storm Rider, a relic chariot of the Space Wolves, was once used by the Primarch Leman Russ. Now used by Logan Grimnar, this dragon-shaped chariot is powered by Thunderwolves and equipped with a powerful force field generator capable of deflecting even the most devastating of blows. The Teeth of the Blizzard, a frost blade, was once wielded by a wolf guard named Ralof. His valiant actions during a deployment against Hive Fleet Behemoth earned this blade its place among the chapter's most revered relics. The Wulfen Stone is a fearsome relic containing the raging spirit of the Wulfen, reminder of the inner beast within every space wolf. This gem is carried into battle only during the most extreme circumstances, amplifying the rage of its bearer and instilling terror in their enemies. The Space Wolves are closely tied to the Fenrisian wolves that roam their home world. These fierce creatures are respected, and the pelts of Fenrisian wolves are often worn by warriors as a mark of their hunting prowess. The wolf skull helms worn by the chapter's wolf priests differ from those worn by the chaplains of other chapters. These helms are a symbol of their unique role within the chapters. Wolf tooth necklaces created from the teeth of Fenrisian wolves are another common relic. These necklaces are said to grant the wearers strength and ferocity in battle, though it is the belief in their power that often fuels a warrior's resolve. The Wulfen Stone, one of the chapter's most dreaded and revered relics, contains the spirit of the Wulfen, the beast that lies within every space wolf. This gem is a symbol of their greatest strength, but also their greatest curse. Wormclaw, the mighty axe wielded by Wolf Lord Grom Dragongaze, is another of the chapter's legendary weapons. It is said that in Grom's hands, Wormclaw becomes an unstoppable force, cutting through all who stand before him. The Space Wolves command one of the largest fleets in the Adeptus Astartes, a mighty collection of vessels, including 2 massive Ramillies-class starforts, 8 battle barges, and over 30 strike cruisers. There are also 20-plus Hunter-class destroyer squadrons, and another 20-plus Gladius and Nova-class frigate squadrons. 15 of the most impressive of these ships are known as the Great Ships. These serve as the flagship for each of the Great Companies, with 3 kept in reserve. Each of these warships is unique, displaying different classes and configurations. Among these ships are some of the most powerful in the fleet. The Iron Wolf, the personal vessel of Wolf Lord Egil Iron Wolf, is one such warship. It was claimed in battle when his great company's own flagship was badly damaged. Slightly larger than the Bride of Fenris, the flagship of the entire chapter, it is a symbol of the strength of the Space Wolves. However, the fleet is not uniform in appearance. Many of these ships do not feature the characteristic hammerhead prow seen on purpose-built Adeptus Astartes vessels. Instead, they are ships of all kinds, repurposed over centuries of service. Ships from frigates to heavy cruisers are transformed into strike cruisers, refitted by the chapter's Iron Priests. The Heimdall, for example, began as a Gladius-class frigate, a smaller vessel, but it was refitted with 5 hangar bays and a mounted bombardment cannon, turning it into a ship of the line. It is now comparable in both speed and firepower to an Astartes strike cruiser. On the other end of the spectrum is the Fist of Russ, an Imperial Navy heavy cruiser taken from renegades. It serves as the great ship for the Thunderfist Great Company. What truly sets the Space Wolves apart is their preference for close combat. In the void, their vessels charge straight at their enemies, closing the gap for brutal broadsides or boarding attacks. This aggressive tactic often leaves their ships severely damaged, but it matters little to the Space Wolves. Should a ship be lost, they simply claim another, preferably from their enemies. Their ships are known for their speed as well. The Rune Priests helm the fleet, guiding them through the warp faster than most thought possible. This ability allowed them to strike unexpectedly, appearing over Fenris mere moments after the Inquisition launched their assault on the Fang. It's a bold approach, breaking through the veil between real space and the warp close to planetary bodies and gravitational fields, risking the loss of ships but gaining surprise on their enemies. Their primary gunships, the Thunderhawk and Thunderhawk Transporter, are used just like those of any other chapter. The Stormwolf and Stormfang gunships, however, are unique to them. They were developed from existing STC fragments and bear a design that combines both functionality and elegance. The Stormwolf is equipped with Hellfrost cannons, while the Stormfang carries a Hellfrost Destructor, a weapon capable of decimating heavy armor or freezing entire squads of troops. The Space Wolves also use a variant of the Imperial Navy Cobra-class destroyer known as the Low-Pack class Escort. The Low-Pack class is heavily armed, capable of docking with the Fang, the chapter's fortress monastery. Alongside these, there are other gunships, such as the Scar gunships. These are smaller, 4-man attack craft, armed with heavy bolters, crewed by the Carols and defending the Fang. The chapter's fleet does not operate under a single Space Marine captain. Instead, each great company has its own flagship, manned by the chapter serfs. The serf who holds the rank of Helmsmaster serves as the captain of the flagship, entrusted with guiding it safely to its destination. This allows the Space Wolves to keep their focus on their goals, even in the midst of enemy forces. Some of the most notable vessels in the fleet include the Pride of Fenris, the flagship of the Great Wolf Logan Grimnar, and the largest warship in the chapter's fleet. Allfather's Honor, another battle barge, serves as the personal vessel of Grimnar and continues to be a symbol of his leadership. Other vessels like the Iron Wolf, Fenrisaver, and Gilfarheim have each played key roles in significant battles across time. The Iron Wolf, for example, was a part of the chapter's fleet during the latter days of the Great Crusade, but was likely destroyed by the Dark Eldar. A truly legendary ship is the Ragnarok. Once the flagship of Gunnar Gunhild during the Great Crusade, it was feared for its power. The Ragnarok met its fate in the Alaxis Nebula, sacrificing itself to delay the Alpha Legion. It rammed the enemy's capital ship, ensuring that the Alpha Legion would be taken out of the fight. Though it was destroyed, its death was marked by courage and sacrifice. During the First War for Armageddon, the Skramasiks, which served as the flagship of Logan Grimnar, suffered heavy damage. Despite this, it continued to fight until it was lost. The Skramasiks remains a symbol of the Space Wolves' enduring commitment to their cause. Meanwhile, vessels like the Russ von Gum, built before the Horus Heresy, have remained in service for millennia. This battle barge was larger than most, only the Ravnik Hill surpassed it in size and firepower. The Russ von Gum served as the chapter's flagship during the 32nd millennium under the command of Great Wolf Harik Ironhelm. The Fist of Russ, a Mars-class battlecruiser, was another significant ship, captured from renegades. It was refitted to serve as a strike cruiser, serving as the great ship of the Thunderfist Great Company, until it was destroyed during the Jari's campaign. The Space Wolf's fleet also includes the Wolf of Fenris, a strike cruiser, which was once part of the chapter's fleet before it was captured by the Red Corsairs. After a surprise attack near the Star of Parenses, the ship was taken, and the Space Wolves on board either perished or swore allegiance to Huron Blackheart, the Chaos Lord of the Red Corsairs. This vessel, once a symbol of the Space Wolves, now serves the Red Corsairs under its new name, the Wolf of Fenris. Other notable ships, like the Blood Eagle, a rapid strike frigate, and the Hell Rider, a vessel that participated in the scouring of Prospero, served the Space Wolves in various conflicts. The Ice Bitten, a fast attack frigate, played a pivotal role in the Battle of the Alaxes Nebula, where it contributed to the defeat of the Alpha Legion. The Frostborn and the Fairgeld, Hunter-class destroyers, were both destroyed in their efforts to warn the Grey Knights about the invasion of Armageddon. The Fairgeld succeeded in reaching Titan, broadcasting its warning before crashing into the surface, but none of its crew survived. Many ships in the fleet were lost, including the Svart Soul, an early veteran ship from the Great Crusade. It was lost during the Battle of the Alaxes Nebula, consumed by the deadly gases of the nebula. The Frost Axe, a vessel lost in the warp, became part of a massive space hulk, which eventually became known as the Festerax. The ship was run down and destroyed by the Space Wolves during the 13th Black Crusade, though it had already become a twisted version of itself. The fleet is also home to rare and unique vessels like the Ryza-class system runner Halapnir. Known for their speed, these small vessels are prized possessions of the chapter. The Halapnir, like others of its class, sacrifices firepower for unrivaled velocity, outpacing even void-capable gunships. Among other notable ships, the Starforts Gormenjarl and Mjolnir defend the Fenris system, serving as critical elements of the chapter's defense against enemies. As the echoes of battle fade and the blood of countless foes settles upon the icy, unforgiving surface of Fenris, the legacy of the Space Wolves endures, etched not only in the sagas of the stars, but in the very bones of their home world. From the moment Leman Russ first walked upon the frigid soil of Fenris, a world where only the strongest could survive, the Space Wolves were destined to stand apart. They were never content to follow the path of others. Their way was one of violence and honor, loyalty and rage. Their story has been one of power and purpose, forged in the fires of conflict and the depths of betrayal. The Space Wolves have always been warriors at heart, ever ready to spill blood for the Emperor, and yet their journey was never one of simplicity. They were more than just soldiers. They were predators, bound by the savage instinct that ruled their hearts. From the Great Crusade, where they carved a bloody path across the galaxy, to the siege of Fenris, where they stood alone against chaos, their story has been one of unyielding strength, tested loyalty, and the ever-present shadow of the Wulfen. Though their methods have often been questioned, seen as brutal, savage, and uncontrolled, there was always a deeper purpose. The Space Wolves, despite their primal appearance, were far from mindless beasts. They were, and are, the Emperor's ultimate weapon, carefully tempered to bring chaos to its knees. Their loyalty, unshakable. Their bond with Leman Russ, unbreakable. Together, they endured the trials of the galaxy, both as defenders of the Imperium and as the living embodiment of a long-held curse. And still, they remain a force to be reckoned with, forever bound to their roots on Fenris, yet ever present among the stars. They have faced countless enemies, from traitor legions to the perils of chaos, and in the wake of the Horus Heresy, they led the charge during the Great Scouring, proving their devotion to the Emperor time and time again. Even as their Primarch disappeared into the mysteries of the Eye of Terror, the Space Wolves pressed forward, ever watchful, ever ready. Their journey is far from over. The wolves will continue to stalk the stars, hunting their enemies, guarding the Imperium, and carrying the weight of their secret history with pride. Their name, their legend, will echo through the galaxy as long as the stars burn. Forever loyal, forever fierce, forever Space Wolves.